Most people think winning an argument means having the best answer. Machiavelli knew better. The most powerful move in any debate, any negotiation, any confrontation is sometimes saying nothing at all. Or better yet, saying something that sounds like an answer, but commits to nothing. Today I'm going to show you exactly how that works. And once you see it, you'll never be able to unsee it. You'll recognize it in politicians, in boardrooms, in relationships, in every arena where power is being quietly fought over. This is the Machiavellian art of winning arguments by refusing to give an answer. Part 1. Why answers are a trap. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that a ruler who commits too early loses his flexibility. He called it the danger of taking sides before the battle is decided. Think about what that means in a modern argument. When you give a clear, direct answer, you do several things simultaneously. You define your position, you give the other person a target, you eliminate your room to maneuver, and you expose exactly where you can be attacked. Every answer is a door you open. And once that door is open, your opponent walks through it. The person who forces you to answer first has already won a psychological victory. They've made you play defense while they remain free to attack from any angle. This is why the most dangerous people in any room are rarely the loudest. They are the ones who listen, who wait, who let everyone else commit, and then they act. Silence is not weakness. Silence is unexploded power. Part 2. The 4 Machiavellian response strategies. Let's get practical. There are 4 core strategies Machiavelli's philosophy produces when applied to modern argumentation. Each one is designed to let you win without exposing yourself. Strategy 1. The reframe. When someone asks you a question or challenges your position, the worst thing you can do is accept their frame and argue inside it. If someone says, "Do you think your plan will fail?" and you say, "No, here's why it will succeed," you have already lost. You're playing in their frame. You're responding to their premise. You've made them the judge and yourself the defendant. The Machiavellian response is to reframe the question entirely before answering it. You say, "That's an interesting way to frame it. But the real question isn't whether it will fail. The real question is what we're trying to achieve and whether this gets us there faster than anything else on the table." You haven't answered their question. You've replaced it with a better one, your one. Now they are responding to your frame. Machiavelli called this controlling the terrain before the battle begins. Never fight on ground your enemy chose. Always move the battle to terrain that favors you. The reframe is how you do that in conversation. Practice this. The next time someone puts a hostile question to you, pause and ask yourself, what frame does this question assume, and how do I replace it with mine? Strategy 2, the strategic concession. This one is counterintuitive, and it's why most people never master it. The strategic concession means agreeing with your opponent, but only on a point that costs you nothing, while using that agreement to advance your actual position. Machiavelli wrote about the value of appearing flexible. He said the prince who is seen as reasonable, who acknowledges other views, gains the trust of the crowd, even as he moves steadily toward his own ends. Here is how it sounds in practice. Someone challenges you. Your idea is completely unrealistic given our budget constraints. A weak response, "No, it's not. Here's why." Now you're in a fight. A Machiavellian response. "You're absolutely right that budget is a constraint, and I've built this idea around that reality. Let me show you how." You've agreed. They feel heard. Their guard drops. And now you're presenting your argument with them psychologically on your side, not opposed to you. The strategic concession disarms without surrendering. It signals confidence, because only insecure people need to fight every point. The person who can afford to agree on small things is the person who knows they win on the big things. Strategy 3, the non-answer answer. This is the most Machiavellian technique of all, and it's the one that takes the most nerve to execute. The non-answer answer is a response that sounds complete, sounds substantive, sounds direct, but actually commits to nothing. Politicians use this constantly. Lawyers use it. The best executives use it. And once you learn to spot it, you realize it's one of the most common forms of communication among powerful people. Here's what it looks like. Question: Do you support this proposal or not? Non-answer answer. What I care about is making sure we get this right. There are legitimate concerns on both sides, and I think before we commit to any position, we need to be sure we've heard all of them. The translation. I haven't told you anything, but I sound thoughtful, reasonable, and above the fray. Why does this work? Because most people in an argument are listening for agreement or disagreement. They're waiting to hear a yes or a no so they can pounce on it. When you give them neither, when you give them a response that is structurally complete but positionally empty, they have nothing to attack. You've given them the shape of an answer without the substance of one. Machiavelli understood that information is power. The person who reveals their position reveals their vulnerability. The person who withholds their position retains their power. The non-answer answer is a form of information control. You're choosing exactly how much of yourself to reveal, which is to say, almost none. Strategy 4, the reversal question. The fourth strategy is turning the argument back on the person challenging you. When someone comes at you with a question or accusation, instead of defending, you ask them something that puts them on the spot. Machiavelli advised the prince to never be purely reactive. The reactive man is controlled by external events. The Machiavellian man shapes events through action, even when that action looks like a question. Here is the technique. Someone says, I don't think you've thought this through. Instead of defending, you say, what specifically concerns you? Walk me through it. Now they have to construct a detailed argument. Often they can't. Their objection was vague, emotional, instinctive, and the moment you demand specificity, it collapses. Or, what would you need to see to be convinced? What does a good answer look like to you? Now they are defining the terms of their own satisfaction, and once they've defined those terms, you can methodically address exactly those points. Or if their terms are unreasonable, you've exposed that too. The reversal question converts defense into offense without appearing aggressive. You're not fighting, you're inquiring. You look curious, confident, and open-minded, while actually forcing your opponent to do the hard work. Part 3, the psychology behind why this works. Let's step back and understand the deeper psychology at play here. Machiavelli wasn't just writing about tactics. He was writing about human nature. And his core insight was this: people are ruled by their perceptions and their emotions far more than by logic. In any argument, both people believe they are being rational, but both people are also operating from ego, from fear of being wrong, from the desire to dominate or to protect themselves. When you give a direct answer, you trigger the opponent's ego. Now it's a fight. Now winning means making you wrong. Logic leaves the room. When you refuse to give a direct answer, when you reframe, concede strategically, answer without committing, or reverse the question, you do something more powerful. You stay outside the ego battle. You don't give them anything to fight against. There's a phrase in martial arts: the best defense is not to be there. You don't block the punch. You move so the punch finds empty air. Machiavellian argumentation works the same way. You don't defend your position. You move so there's no position to attack. This creates a particular kind of psychological discomfort in your opponent. They came ready to fight. They have their argument loaded, and suddenly there's nothing to push against. That discomfort is yours to exploit. Part 4. When not to use these techniques. Machiavelli was also a realist. He understood that every strategy has its limits, and the prince who uses the same tool in every situation is a fool. There are times when clarity and directness are the most powerful move, when trust is the currency you're spending, when you're speaking to people who are already on your side and need to see decisiveness, when the cost of ambiguity is higher than the cost of exposure. In those moments, the Machiavellian move is not to be ambiguous, it's to be shockingly clear. The principle is not always refuse to answer. The principle is control what you reveal and when you reveal it. Sometimes revealing your full position with confidence is exactly the power move the moment calls for. The key is that it's your choice, not a reaction, not a response to pressure, a deliberate act. The person who speaks because they're cornered is weak. The person who speaks because they've decided this is the moment, that's power. Machiavelli made this distinction clearly. He said a prince must know how to use both the law and force, both the lion and the fox. The fox avoids traps, the lion breaks them. Know which one you need to be in the moment, and then be that completely. Part 5. Practical application. Real scenarios. Let's bring this into the real world with 3 scenarios. Scenario 1. The workplace challenge. Your boss asks you in a meeting in front of your colleagues, "Why is this project behind schedule?" The instinctive answer is to defend yourself, to explain, to list reasons. This is weak. You've accepted blame and you're justifying it. The Machiavellian response, step 1, reframe. The timeline we're working against was set before we had full visibility into the scope. Now that we do, what matters is what we do from here. Step 2, reversal. I'd like to get everyone aligned on priorities so we can make the right call on resources. What's the most important outcome we need to hit by end of month? You haven't answered the question. You've reframed it as a resource and priority conversation. You've moved from the past, blame, to the future, solutions. And you've made your boss responsible for defining what success looks like next. You've said almost nothing and gained almost everything. Scenario 2, the relationship confrontation. Someone close to you accuses you, "You never really listen to me." Direct denial, "Yes, I do." Now you're in a fight about the past. Machiavellian response, strategic concession plus reversal. "I hear you, and I want to understand this better. Tell me about a time you felt like I wasn't listening. What did that look like to you?" You've conceded the emotional reality, they feel unheard, without conceding the factual claim, "You never listen." You've shown maturity, and now they are reconstructing a specific memory, which shifts the conversation from a global accusation to a specific incident, which is much easier to address or to contextualize. You've also quietly taken control of the conversation by asking the questions. Scenario 3, the public or professional debate. Someone challenges your view publicly. Your analysis completely ignores the economic impact. Don't you think that's a massive oversight? Weak response, defend the analysis. Machiavellian response, the economic dimension is worth taking seriously, which is exactly why I think we need to be precise about what we mean by economic impact. Are we talking about short-term cost, long-term growth, distributional effects? Because each of those tells a very different story. Which one concerns you most? You've acknowledged the challenge without conceding anything. You've demonstrated deeper knowledge than the challenger by breaking the term down. And you've put the burden of specificity back on them. Now they're defending their question instead of you defending your answer. Part 6. The Machiavellian mindset. Tactics without the right mindset are just tricks, and tricks fail under pressure. The deeper shift Machiavelli demands is this. Stop thinking of arguments as truth contests and start thinking of them as power dynamics. This is not cynical, it's realistic. Because almost every argument, especially the ones that matter, is as much about power as it is about truth. About who gets to define the terms, about who controls the frame, about who emerges with their position, their relationships, and their reputation intact. Machiavelli was honest about this in a way that made him controversial. He refused to pretend that human affairs operated on pure reason and virtue. He looked at the world as it was, not as people wished it to be. And he said, given that this is how the world actually works, what does a wise person do? The wise person does not abandon virtue, but the wise person also doesn't bring a treatise on ethics to a knife fight. The wise person learns to read the room, to control the information they release, to move through conflict without being destroyed by it, to protect their position, their alliances, and their ability to act. Because without those things, even the most righteous cause dies. That is what this skill is. Not manipulation for its own sake, not dishonesty, not cowardice. It is the art of surviving the argument so you can win the war. Part 7, Advanced Move, Weaponized Silence. We save the most powerful technique for last. Silence. Not awkward silence, not confused silence. Deliberate weaponized silence. In most conversations, people are terrified of silence. The moment there's a pause, they rush to fill it. They talk. They over-explain. They give away information they didn't mean to give. Machiavelli would recognize this immediately. He wrote about the prince who speaks little and observes much. He wrote about the danger of revealing too much through speech. The person who is comfortable with silence holds immense power, because silence in the right moment says more than any answer could. After someone challenges you, wait, not for a few seconds. Longer than is comfortable, long enough that they start to feel the weight of the room. Then, when the silence has done its work, speak. Or don't. Sometimes the most devastating response to an argument is to simply not respond to it at all, to nod, to move on, to treat it as too small to deserve an answer. This is an advanced move because most people cannot bear to do it. The ego wants to respond. The ego wants to win the exchange. But the Machiavellian understands. Sometimes the exchange itself is a trap, and the only way to win is not to play. The person who responds to every challenge is controlled by everyone around them. The person who chooses their responses, who decides which provocations are worth their time, that person is in control. Silence is not the absence of power. Silence is power held in reserve. Machiavelli has been called cynical, ruthless, immoral. But read him carefully, and what you find is a man who cared deeply about survival and effectiveness in a world that was often brutal and unfair. He was not teaching people to be evil. He was teaching people to be effective. And the techniques we've covered today, the reframe, the strategic concession, the non-answer answer, the reversal question, the weaponized silence, none of these require you to lie. None require you to hurt anyone. None require you to abandon your values. They require something harder than that. They require discipline, self-control, the ability to resist the instinct to defend, to explain, to justify, and instead to move strategically, patiently, deliberately. Most people lose arguments not because they're wrong. They lose because they're reactive, because they play on terrain their opponent chose, because they reveal too much, too early, under pressure they didn't need to accept. The Machiavellian arguer doesn't fight harder. They fight smarter. They control the frame. They choose their moments. They refuse to be cornered. And when they do finally speak their position, clearly, directly, with full conviction, the room listens, because they have earned that silence, and they fill it with intention. That is the art. That is what it means to win by refusing to give an answer.